Bene.
Hey friends, this is Reverend Jerry, the People's Priest. I'm an action organizer with Campaign Nonviolence in Houston, Texas. I use he, they pronouns, and I'm happy to be joining with you for another Skill Up video with the awesome and fabulous Rivera son. Today, we're going to talk briefly about risk assessment and tactical choices when it comes to organizing your demonstration. So first, it's important to remember that every action that you do, whether it's in the public square or it's in the digital square, has some level of risk to your body, to your mental health, to your spiritual health. And that is because we are confronting systems and individuals that promote or practice injustice. And as many of us know, whenever we confront somebody that maybe we disagree with or that we're having an issue with, it creates conflict, and sometimes conflict can be a little dangerous, and sometimes conflict, but conflict can always be an opportunity for growth. And when you learn to be aware of the risks that are available in conflict, that can help influence the way that you engage with that conflict. So one of the risks that come into play in organizing a demonstration is, who is it that makes the most impact in a demonstration? So for instance, if you're having a demonstration where you're gathered together in a particular location and there's a possibility of arrest taking place, if you prioritize the bodies and lived identities of individuals that have a social status within the community, the level of risk that might be available to that person would be a lot lower because of their social impact in the community. So if a priest or a doctor or a lawyer or a veteran might be the ones being arrested, that has a lower risk for them as a highly ranking person in society, but it has a high risk for the police and other people in power, because it forces them to have to put themselves in a situation where the media might look upon them as being bad for arresting somebody who's a do-gooder, right? And then during the time of COVID, there's also the understanding of taking risk going forward into public demonstrations, knowing that this demonstration, if you have a compromised immune system or somehow unhealthy in some way, might expose you to COVID or some other health issue to be aware of. That does not necessarily mean that you need to shy away from that action, but being aware of it and taking the necessary precautions like wearing a mask and taking vitamins can help decrease or lower that risk factor for you and other people. The next part we're going to talk about is tactical choices, and I'm going to pass that on to Rivera.
Thanks, Jerry. As we prepare for the Campaign Nonviolence Action Week, September 18th through 26th, thinking through some of the risks that you might have in your actions is really important for keeping people safe, but it's also important for weighing where your impact is going to be, right? You're always looking for that happy place between really risky activities and maximum impact, right? So we don't want to just do actions that nobody knows about. We want to do actions that people hear about, that they connect with, that bring a message to them, that alert them. So think through a little bit where you're holding your action, right? Is there a strategic location in your community where a lot of cars go by or a lot of people walk by? Is there a place where a power holder is going to be passing through, or their office is? If you're going to do a meditation for peace, maybe doing it in front of your city councilor's offices is a great place to do that. Also think through how to amplify your actions with signs, banners, props. So if, 3 people are standing on a street corner holding little index cards with their signs, that's not as impactful as just 2 people standing in the same place with a giant banner saying, build a culture of peace and nonviolence, right? So blow up your message, make it really big, make it really loud. If you have giant puppets in your community, call them out. If you have a brass band, call them out. These are the ways that we amplify our message and we maximize our impact, right? While keeping in mind that we also want to lower our risk factor wherever possible, although sometimes it simply is not possible. So Jerry, any last thoughts for this session on risks and impacts?
Yeah, so again, risks are always going to be a part of the equation. I mean, if there is no risk, it's not the work of justice. And but also too, I want to add on to what you said about impact and location, and reinforce the importance of remembering that demonstrations don't have to only happen in one place. There can be multiple demonstrations that maybe are smaller, happening in other places at the same time, so that you have multiple places covered, which helps to increase the impact of your messaging on a broader amount of people. But it also allows you to, again, include more people, include differing gifts, and help to make sure that you get certain areas covered that are key critical places of impact. So with that, that's another episode in this series that we are doing. It's really fun, and I hope and pray that all of you in your organizing do well, and let us together go forth and build this wonderful culture of peace and nonviolence together.